Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, my dear student. Assalamu alaikum. We are here for the second lecture of engineering hydrology. In this lecture too, we will cover, inshallah, the introduction to hydrology, the origin and the history of hydrology, branches of hydrology, and the most important topic of this engineering hydrology, the hydrological cycle. So let's start from hydrology. The word hydrology is actually a combination of two Greek words. Hydro is from hydor, which means water, and logi is from logos, means study. So hydrology means the study of water, or you can say the science about water is known as hydrology. Now let's come to its formal definition. So what are the things which we study about water? What are the parameters, what are the components about water which we study in hydrology? In hydrology, we study the origin, the occurrence, the circulation, the distribution, the physical and chemical properties, and finally, the interaction of water with living organisms. So, hydrology is the science which deals with the origin, occurrence, circulation, distribution, chemical and physical properties of water, and its interaction with living organisms. Or in other words, you can say the study of water in all its forms, that are rain, snow, and water on the earth's surface, and from its origin to all its destination on earth, is known as hydrology. Hydrology, you can see why we study hydrology. Hydrology is an essential field of science, since everything from a very small tiny organisms to large individuals to human beings to the societies to the whole of civilization depends very much on water. We can say that life without water is not possible. Water is an important component of water. But we are studying hydrology not only for this reason, because this is the reason the biology people can say. We are studying hydrology because we deal with projects, with various structure, with various civil engineering structure with water. Therefore, understanding the water, the various processes of water are very, very much important for planning and designing of these civil engineering structures. Now, let's talk about the history and the origin of hydrology. Actually, the origin means from when the hydrology field started. So it is a very old field of science. The old people, almost 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, people know about hydrology. It was along the Indus River in Pakistan, the Tigris and Arafat in Mesopotamia, the Hanghu River in China, and the Nile in Egypt that the first hydraulic engineers created canals, dams, subsurface water conduits, and as early as 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. Means the field of hydrology is very, very old. The people 5,000-6,000 before know about hydrology. That is why they created structures relating water. But the most important development in hydrology occurs recently. Advances in the 18th century. The development of 18th century included the well-known Bernoulli piezometer and the well-known Bernoulli's equation by Daniel Bernoulli, and similarly the Petard tube. Bernoulli piezometer is an instrument used for measuring the pressure inside the water, or you can say for measuring water table beneath the earth. Petard tube is an instrument used for determining the velocity of flowing water. The Petard tube will be discussed in very much detail later on, inshallah. The development in the 19th century is mainly in the groundwater hydrology. In which very famous Darcy law is developed. The Dupert-Thiem well formula is published, and Huygens-Poiseuille's capillary flow equations. These all are very known equations, very known laws. In 1987 means at the end of the 19th century, Jacques, a researcher, traced the history of hydrology to ancient Chinese civilization, and he postulated 3 stages of the development of study of hydrology. The stage number 1 is the stage of geographical hydrology. Number 2 is the stage of engineering hydrology, and number 3 is the stage of social development. Let's discuss these 3 stages. The stage number 1, geographical hydrology. In this stage, people understand the concept of water balance in hydrological cycle. If someone know the concept of hydrological cycle, we can say he understands completely hydrology. That is why this is the stage of understanding of hydrology. When someone understands the phenomena, then the phenomena can be used for the benefit of human being. That is why the second stage of hydrology is engineering hydrology, in which people started designing of control structures and starting determination, quantitatively determining the hydrological phenomena. When people used these concepts in design different control structure and find out quantity of the different hydrological phenomena, then a third stage come, which is known as stage of social development. In the modern world, when development reaches to an end, there is a depression on the natural resources. So it is the stage in which the water demand is more and large scale of use of water resources is occurring. So coupled with the development of new techniques brought about a new stage of water resources involving resource analysis and management. Means that in this stage, the modern world is now focusing on how to reduce the use of water, because with the development, the use of water is increased. So this is the latest stage of hydrology. Now let's talk about some branches of hydrology. If we can seek into the hydrology can be generally divided in 2 main branches. The first branch is known as paper hydrology, and the second one is engineering hydrology. Again, just like we discussed in the stages, paper hydrology means understanding the hydrological concepts. the most important hydrological cycle, what is precipitation, how it forms, runoff, then relationship between precipitation and runoff, what are hydrographs, how it can be created, what are their benefits, how flood can be controlled. All these concepts are actually comes in paper hydrology. The second branch is engineering hydrology. Once human concepts are clear with hydrology, then they can use this knowledge for the benefits of a human being. That is why in engineering, hydrology is actually the planning and designing and operation of engineering projects for the control and use of water. Let's talk about some other branches of hydrology. There are various branches of hydrology which we will discuss. All these branches can be easily understood by the name they are given. Number one is you can see chemical hydrology. So by chemical hydrology we means it is the branch of hydrology in which the chemical characteristics, chemical properties of water is studied. The second one is eco-hydrology. Eco-hydrology, it is the interaction between all living organisms and the natural resources. Eco. So in this branch of hydrology, the interaction between organism and the hydrological cycle or any component of the hydrological cycle is discussed. The third one is hydrogeology. It is sometimes known as geohydrology. It is actually the study of the presence and movement of water inside the earth, groundwater. The fourth branch is hydroinformatics. Hydroinformatics. This is actually the modern branch of hydrology. Informatics means GIS, Geoinformatics System. Internet, mobile, Wi-Fi, these all are known as IT, information technology. So the use of information technology for the knowledge of hydrological parameter or for the knowledge of hydrology can be said is hydroinformatics. So it is actually the adaptation of information technology of IT to hydrology and water resource applications. A simple example of hydroinformatics is, as already you know, nowadays you can find out the weather forecast on your mobile through internet. So what is internet in your mobile? This is IT, and you are finding information about precipitation, about snowfall, about rainfall, about hailstorm, about wind speed. All these are hydrological parameters. So when you know these things by using the technology, information technology, so it is actually the hydroinformatics. Next branch is surface water hydrology. Surface water hydrology deals with the water which is above or near the earth's surface. Groundwater hydrology is the study of water which is underground, which is beneath the ground. But actually the groundwater means the water inside the aquifer. It is not the Meadows zone water. Above the water table, the earth is known as Meadows zone. The zone above the water table is known as Meadows zone, and below the water table is a saturated zone. So the groundwater hydrology means it is the branch in which we study the water beneath the water table, that is known as aquifer. Next branch is drainage basin management, which covers water storage in the form of reservoir and flood protection. Storage is important, such that dam storage, reservoir of any dam. Water quality includes the chemistry of water in rivers and lakes. In this branch of hydrology, the water of rivers and lakes are studied chemically and physically. The last branch of hydrology is isotope hydrology. Isotope study of anything actually is for what? Is for to find out the origin and the age of that thing. So in this branch, the isotropic signature of water is determined, such that to find out the origin, the start of the water on this earth or in this universe, and the age of the water of the presence of water on this universe. Now, what are the application of hydrology? In this topic, it should be clear. By application mean the uses of hydrology, or you can say the importance of hydrology. So the hydrology, the knowledge of hydrology can be used for determining the water balance of a region. Water balance mean how much water enters to an area, to an earth, to a region, and how much water evaporates up from this area. So the net balance is known as water balance. So second one is determine the agricultural water balance. Now the water comes through precipitation, through rainfall, snowfall, etc., and then evaporates up through evaporation process, or moves down the earth or above the surface towards the river, and finally towards the ocean. But how much water is available in an area for purpose of agriculture? That is to be determined with the help of hydrology. Flood forecasting and flood warning. Flood is actually related to the amount of precipitation, to the amount of rainfall. And if you know hydrology, you can forecast rainfall, and if you can forecast rainfall, then you can forecast the flood. So flood can be determined before the occurring. This is known as forecasting a flood. Designing bridges. Above the river, we construct bridges. Before construction, there is a stage of design. For designing bridges, you should know the level of the water in the river currently and in the upcoming 50 years or 100 years. So this level can be determined with the help of the knowledge gained through the hydrology. Similarly, designing of dams for water supply or any other purpose, designing of sewers in urban drainage system, designing irrigation schemes, and managing agricultural productivity totally depends upon the knowledge of hydrology. So these are all the importance of hydrology, the application of hydrology, or the uses of hydrology. We can use the knowledge of hydrology in these areas. Now, the very important topic of this lecture is the hydrological cycle. What is hydrological cycle? This is sometimes known as water cycle or H2O cycle, or you can say hydrological cycle. This is actually the continuous movement of water on, above, and below the Earth's surface. The continuous movement in which water is converted to vapors, sometimes to gaseous form, sometimes to liquid form, and then from liquid to solid, and sometimes directly from gaseous to solid form, and then in the form of precipitation comes on the Earth's surface, moves on the Earth's surface, penetrates into the surface, and some water moves towards the river, drains, rivers, and stream, etc. You can see in these pictures evaporation. First of all, we have a water body like a river, an ocean, etc. When sun comes out, the rays from sun comes towards the river, towards the water body. its temperature is rises. So the water converts to vapors, and these vapors moves upward. This is called transpiration. These vapors moves upward. With this upward motion, the temperature of the vapors decreases, and when it reaches to dew point temperature, these vapors converts to liquid form or solid form, and then become clouds. And then these clouds, transportation started, and when it comes to an area which is fully fit for the precipitation start. What is precipitation? Precipitation means rain, snow or hail. When it started precipitation, the water in the form of liquid or in the gaseous form, or in the solid form, comes towards the earth's surface. Some of the water flows above the earth's surface, a part of it infiltrate beneath the surface, and part of the infiltrated water moves horizontally in the earth's surface, and some of the water moves downward deeply to the groundwater table and adds to the groundwater. In all these destinations, this water is finally moving towards the drain, towards the river, and final destination of all these things is the ocean. And then from the ocean, the water in the soil, the water in the ditches or in the lakes, again evaporation starts, and again this whole process is continuously doing in this atmosphere. And this process is known as hydrological cycle. This is, you can see here in this picture, this is moisture or land, and from moisture this is precipitation occurring. When precipitation occurs, some of the water infiltrates into the ground, some of the water remains in the ditches, some of the water flows over the surface, and all these water going towards the groundwater into the oceans, finally into the oceans. And also there is a precipitation above the ocean. This water is also aiding to the oceans, and also evaporation occurring from the ocean surface, evaporation occurring from this ditch, evaporation is also occurring from this soil. So this is a continuous process in this atmosphere. Now, what are the main processes involved in this hydrological cycles? The hydrological cycle consists of various processes. Number one is evaporation. First of all, you have to fully understand these processes. Before proceeding to the other lecture, you should remember these processes. What does mean by evaporation, condensation, precipitation, interception? Because these are important for understanding or for proceeding in the forward chapters. So what is evaporation? It is actually the act or process of converting or changing water into vapor form with the application of heat. When heat is given to what? When heat is given to water, it converts to gaseous form. This process is known as evaporation. But remember, boiling is something else. Boiling is not a natural process, but evaporation is a natural process. And the heat required for evaporation is always given by the solar heat. The second one is the condensation. Condensation, as you studied in your chemistry classes, it is the process or the act of reducing a gas to a liquid form. Reducing a gas or vapor to a liquid form. This is known as condensation. And when a gas or vapor is directly converted to solid form, this is actually known as sublimation. But in this subject, in the hydrology, we don't use the word of sublimation. We don't use the word sublimation. We will call all of the gas or vapor is converted to liquid or solid. All of them are called is condensation. So there is no word of sublimation in hydrology. Precipitation is actually the process by which atmospheric moisture, the vapors present in the atmosphere, falls onto a land or water body, is rain, snow, hail, or any other forms of moisture. This is known as precipitation. This will be discussed in various detail in the next chapter, inshallah, in the chapter number 3. Next is the interception, the process of storing rain or snow and leaves in branches, which eventually evaporates back to the air. During snowfall or during rainfall, you can see some of the water stores on the leaves in branches of the trees. And when sun rises, when sun appears, due to temperature rises, these snow particle or these water particle are then converted to vapors and go back to the air. This water is known as intercepted water, and this process is known as interception. Infiltration, the penetration of water through the ground surface into subsurface soil. When water comes on the ground, some of the water infiltrated, go inside the earth. This is known as go into the earth's surface. This is known as infiltration. The next process is the percolation, the movement of water downward and radially through subsurface soil layers, usually continuing downward to groundwater table. Some of the infiltrated water goes deeply towards the groundwater table. This process is known as percolation. Okay, the next process is transpiration. It is the process by which water vapor is lost to the atmosphere from living plants, from the leaves of the plants. The last process of hydrological cycle is the runoff. Runoff or stream flow is actually the water flowing above the surface of the earth. Drainage or flood discharge that leaves an area is surface flow or is pipeline flow. Here you can see another diagram again showing the hydrological cycle. The first process of this cycle is evaporation. From any water body, the water is converted to vapors, and the vapors then starts flowing upward, which is known as transpiration. The first step is evaporation, then transpiration of these vapors, then these vapors converted to solid or liquid form, which is known as condensation, and after condensation, precipitation starts. When precipitation starts, the water comes on the land. Some of the water flows as runoff above the surface, some of the water stores on the leaves and branches of the trees, which is known as interception, and some of the water goes into the earth's surface, which is known as infiltration, and some of them is then go further deeper, which is known as percolation. All these water is going towards any water body such as stream, then to river, then finally to the oceans, and again from these water body then evaporation, and similarly this process is continuously flowing throughout the time. Now this whole process can be seen in this video. This is from YouTube, and you can see it right here. You can see here The only energy source is the sun. With the solar heat, the water converted to vapors, and the vapor ascends in the atmosphere, then transports toward the higher elevation, and then precipitation starts. The water flow over the surface, the water infiltrate into the ground, the water go deeper into the groundwater, and ultimately all the water, either it is in the water table or it is in the drain or it is in the ditches, going towards the oceans. And again from the ocean, when solar energy comes, again the evaporation starts from this, and these vapors then transports to higher altitudes, becomes condensed, start precipitation, and this process continuously going on. Next is the advantages of hydrological cycle. This cycle recycles the Earth's valuable water supply, such that the water keeps getting reused over and over. We use the water, and the water cycle clarify it. Provides water for our population, animals and plants. Evaporation and infiltration help to remove impurities from the water. Fish provides fish to eat. So the water in this glass could have been a liquid, solid, and a gas countless times over thanks to the water cycle. Disadvantages of hydrological cycle. There are no disadvantages of hydrological cycle, but disadvantages in terms that we don't have any control over the hydrological cycle. If we have control over the hydrological cycle, then there are no disadvantages. So the main disadvantages is the control over the hydrological cycle, such that we cannot aid or remove water from the system. This is a natural system. And the second one is the acid rain is also a disadvantage. Acid rain, you already know. When there is a rainfall, there is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and the water react with the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere. It becomes carbonic acid, and this carbonic acidic water comes to the earth, which we use for drinking purposes, etc., which can damage our health. So this acid rain is also a disadvantage of hydrological cycle. The water can end up in the floodplains, causes flood to occur, such that when in some areas the hydrological cycle is more, the water can be more and flood can be occur. So this is also a count to be a disadvantage of this side. In the last, these are again the same recommended textbooks and reading references. Once again, I am using Engineering Hydrology by K. Subramania, 3rd edition 2008. This one is a required book for this subject, and other 3 books can be used as reference books. Also, you can take help from class notes and PowerPoint presentations. Thank you very much. For any question, issues or suggestion, you can mail me on my official email hassan.seval@soot.edu.pk. Thank you.